Okay, I'm going to call bullshit on this. It's not against Brian Young or the guy that's interviewing him here. It's not even against the video he had taken down from his channel, okay? Which is this one right here on the Corona White House task force, okay? I'm calling this particular video that he replied to, that Brian Young replied to, and that so many people around the internet have already pushed. I'm calling this complete BS. This is a psyop put in your face. Why do I say that? I'll tell you why I say that. First off, I've watched quite a few of the live feeds from Trump already. Not the whole thing, but I was there regularly for at least 2 weeks, every day, before Trump ever come out. Okay? While they were setting up for it. Yeah, sure, there were mics that were alive. Okay? And even with mics being alive in the room, you couldn't make out heads or tails out of being what was being talked about before Trump come out. No. Okay? Day after day after day, you could not hear what was being talked about by anybody in the room before it went live. You know, it was distant sounds only because the mics wasn't active, okay? But for this particular briefing, these two guys come in and you hear everything they're talking about like somebody has turned up the sensitivity to the mics to make sure that the mics that were in the room were picking up any noise that was said. That's right. It's like suddenly out of nowhere somebody turned up the sensitivity of the mics, okay, before the briefing ever took place, and then the conversation between these two. And what did the old man say? He didn't just say the words hoax, okay? He openly said, well, we've already had our vaccination shots anyhow. Yes, he did. We've already had our vaccinations anyhow. Hold on, ain't they still working on a vaccination? Hold on, it can't be both. You can't be working to create a vaccination and already have had your vaccination from the virus that don't exist. Not that the name don't exist, not that there's possibility there's a bug out here. But the official story of this is just like the official story of 9/11 or of any of your other fraudulent events. It's the official lie, the official propaganda. And this particular video release that he done his reply to is a psyop. It's a lie. How can you say that? We heard them saying it, walking around waiting for the meeting to start. But every other day of the week that you go here ahead of time, you can't make out what anybody's talking about. That's right. Because they're not in front of a mic. Did you see these guys carrying a mic? No, we didn't. Don't mean they didn't have a mic on them. It don't mean they didn't have a wireless mic hidden on them to allow you to hear what they were saying. Yeah. Regardless of what, day after day after day, you hear before Trump ever comes out, before the meeting starts, you're already sitting here watching him in the room, waiting for Trump to come out because it's already live, and you can't make out anything that's being said. You hear noise, you hear a little bit of talking, but you can't really make it out at all. But these two gentlemen come in the room, and he started walking around doing whatever they're doing, and they're talking to each other with one other person sitting in the room, and they're talking with each other, and we hear everything they're saying just like they got the mic in their hands. Maybe not quite like they got the mic in their hands, but close enough. Compared to coronavirus task force meeting, day after day after day after day after day after day after day, that you're here early and you're waiting for them to come out and you can't hear what anybody's talking about? Nope, sure can't. Nope, can't hear it. Can't hear it day after day after day. Oh, but just for this one time only, we get to hear what they're saying. And it just happens to match everything that's going online. It just happens to be some truth. Yeah. And then the old man wearing the mask says, well, we've already had our vaccination shots already anyhow. Oh, you have? So you've had the vaccination that hasn't come out yet? Well, of course the vaccination's been here since the day they introduced it to you. But that's not what they're telling the world. We have to go with what they're telling the world. They're working rapidly to try to create a vaccination. So if they're working rapidly to try to get back a vaccination, how did this old man say we've already had our vaccination shots anyhow? Huh. It flies in the face of everything they've been telling you, doesn't it? No. It sure does. It flies right in the face of what they've been telling us. So unless you're smart enough to pay attention to what they have been telling us, and to pay attention for day after day after day after day after day after day after day that they come up here with their meeting, and you were sitting here waiting for it to start and waiting for it to start, and I don't know how many other people have done that besides me, right? And you couldn't make out nothing that was being said in the room. Even with more people in the room, you couldn't make it out. But on this particular only one, okay, we could hear what these two guys were talking about. Yeah. Huh. Well, they must have accidentally left the mics hot. They left the mics on by accident. No, they didn't. The mics were on then too, and you wasn't picking it up. But then suddenly you're picking this up, right? I would suggest they had hidden mics on them that were already activated that were wireless. This was intentionally done to fool you, us, the people, into believing that we accidentally heard some footage that we wasn't supposed to hear. I call bullshit on that. This was deliberate. And I didn't recall hearing Brian talk about, didn't he just say they had their vaccination shots already? Didn't he just say them words? Well, but wait a minute. I thought they were working on them shots and they haven't developed a shot yet. Now, we all know that, of course, they've developed a vaccination. They're just sitting back waiting and letting you believe that they're rushing to create one. But before they've announced that they've created one, we've already had our vaccination shots anyhow. Yeah. So in your face. So in your face. I don't get it why people don't pay attention. I don't get it why you just can't pay attention. Because if you would pay attention and have a memory span of more than 8 minutes and be able to retain information more than 24 hours, then you would know that day after day after day after day, if you was here waiting on this to start, you would see people in the room, some days a lot more than what you're seeing now. Okay? And you wouldn't be able to make out what they were talking about. No, you sure wouldn't. You could not make out what they were talking about day after day after day. Why is that? Well, because the mics are hot. Yes, the mics are live. And you have to be over the mic to speak in it for it to go down into the mic for the room to hear it. So, how did you hear these two guys walking around the room? Well, because they had hidden wireless mics already hooked to the system, set up, and they came in and walked around the room talking to each other. They had already rehearsed what they were going to say. That's exactly how that happened. And then, of course, well, we've already had our vaccinations anyhow, he says. You have? You mean you've had the vaccinations before they announced to the public that they created one? Because they were supposed to be in the middle trying to create one right now, wasn't they? And they haven't created one to give to the public yet, have they? No, they haven't. You've heard that announced nowhere, have you? Although we know it's coming, right? That they're going to introduce you to the vaccination shot that they want you to take, and they're going to try to make it mandatory that all people take it. We know that. We know that's coming yet. The problem is just as I pointed out. First off, Brian Young here, he didn't even mention this guy just said they've had their vaccinations already. Nope, he didn't point that out at all. He didn't even bring up that the vaccination shots are supposed to be working on trying to create one, ain't they? Yep. Nope, he didn't. He just brushed over. He didn't even bring that up, did you, Brian? Nope. But you talked about, the numbers. That look, it don't kill no more people than flu does. Matter of fact, it's killed less people than flu does every year. Yeah, the same numbers that we've been hearing all over the net. Yeah, but they just must have accidentally left their mics on. Their mics were hot that day, yeah. And they accidentally left them on. No, they didn't. Them mics are already set up to go. That's why Trump walks in and just starts talking. Oh, and they turn it on when he comes in the room, you know. Really? No, I don't buy it. I don't buy it. They got mics in the room, yes, for the reporters. Okay. And you never see the reporters actually questioning how come they're so live, you know. How come you hear them so well? I would suggest because at each one of them podiums there's a mic. Or they're all wearing mics that are wireless when the reporters come into the room. And they're muting them. Could they accidentally leave them hot? Yes. But that still wouldn't explain how you could hear these two guys walking around the room talking so loudly like that when day after day after day after day with people all throughout the room talking with each other, you can't hear squat they're saying. You can't make anything out through the mics. Oh, well, they all remembered to mute them that day, and these two gentlemen forgot to mute theirs. Well, hold on. These two gentlemen wasn't reporters, were they? So why would they have a mic on them if they're not reporters and they're not going to be asking questions? They wouldn't. If they're in here working around this room to set it up, they wouldn't be carrying a mic on them. And their voice sure wouldn't be coming through the mics on the podium. No. But we heard them loud and clear, didn't we? Why do I think I'm calling this bullshit? We heard them loud and clear, talking to each other. We heard what was said. Then we heard the old man right there in front of you saying, well, we've already had our vaccinations anyhow. And nobody picked up on it. Nobody. Not even O'Brien over here. Did he pick up on that? No. Oh, he might have picked up on it and just ignored it, right? Oh, it's too soon to talk about that because they haven't announced they got one yet. So I'm going to blow off what just came out of his mouth. I'm not going to be honest about that, no. Okay, that is the only problem I see with this particular video that Brian posted. Then, it got taken down. Oh, now he's doing an interview with this guy, and they're clearly showing the same video over and over, and he's posting that back on his channel with them playing the same video that they took it down off his channel for posting it. So he does an interview on somebody else's channel where they play it, and he puts it back on his own channel, and voila, magically it's still here. Sad. Sad how they're deceiving us so bad. Sad how many people are actually collecting money. Yep, lining their pockets off of this. And telling the truth while they continue to keep the PSYOP going. Because if Brian's so aware of what he's talking about and so good, how did Brian miss that? How did he overlook that? How did he overlook the fact that these two guys are walking around talking and we hear them just fine? But every day after day after day after day after day, when they go live, there's reporters already sitting waiting. Okay, there's people waiting and they're talking while they're waiting, and you can't make out nothing. Sometimes you hear a little bit of like distance talking, but that's about it. Okay? And then just out of nowhere, when there's only one guy in the room sitting there waiting, okay, at the chairs there, the benches, whatever you want to call them, okay, these two guys come walking in the door and they're just talking with each other and they're walking around and we all hear it just fine, don't we? But every other day of the week now, we're waiting on Trump. There's people in the room and we don't hear them just fine, do we? No, we don't. But we'll hear these guys loud and clear just fine, won't we? And then the old man will say, well, we've already had our vaccinations already. Also, you've already had what they're supposedly, what they've told the world. We're working on a vaccination right now. Well, they've already had what they're working on before it was completed then, huh? Do you understand what I'm telling you? This footage of these two guys walking around before the meeting was deliberately done. It's a PSYOP. That's right. It's a complete freaking lie. It's a PSYOP. And of course, the old man had to say that was part of the script. That's right. That was part of what he's paid to say. We've already had our vaccinations yet. We've already had ours. Well, why was he saying that? Well, because they're paying attention. They want to see how well the public is paying attention. They're testing your intelligence to see how well you're paying attention. And if I was just to go with that one statement alone, I would say Brian didn't pay attention too well, wouldn't I? Yeah, I would say that Brian Young of High Impact Flicks and Vlogs over here wasn't really paying attention too well. And I guess I don't want to believe that. I don't think it wasn't because he wasn't paying attention. No, not at all. I think it's because he wasn't supposed to address that. Yeah. Remember when I told you that YouTube is absolutely filled full of employees in the establishment and all corners of the YouTube, everywhere, all over, just filled to the brim? I wasn't lying to you. And all of these employees of the establishment are up there pulling PSYOPs on you, lies on you, are making really good money to do so. And that's why they're doing it. You know how power and greed absolutely corrupt? Yep, absolutely corrupt. You know how people for the tool will sell out their own people while they're playing the good guy? Because that's what their role is for their $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 a year they're making. Yeah. Now, I'm not saying Brian's making that kind of money, but I'm telling you, I don't buy for a minute that Brian Young just overlooked that part. Or he just didn't hear that part. No. No, not at all. Because he played it twice on his own channel. And then supposedly got taken down. Then he comes up here and does an interview with this guy that you see above him there. Okay, on your left-hand side. And they went ahead and played the same video he already played for you, Brian did. They played it 2 times again. And so we have this same video being played 4 times by Brian. 2 times on his own and 2 times through this. And he brought it back over to his channel after it was supposedly removed from his channel. And here it is, still here. It hasn't been removed. No. Well, I suppose because he's doing an interview with somebody else, now he's allowed to have it on his channel. Huh? Bullshit. Excuse my language, but bullshit. This entire press briefing scenario that they've played for the public is a psyop. It was meant to be heard. It sure was. It was meant to be heard. It wasn't they accidentally left their mics hot. That's what I'm calling bullshit. On top of the fact that ain't they supposedly still working on a vaccination? That they're going to make mandatory for everybody? Yeah, they are, ain't they? And what do we got going on here? The old man clearly said, well, we've already had our vaccinations anyhow. So you already had something that wasn't created yet, huh? Well, at least in the public's eyes, right? So now you know why I call it bullshit. All you got to do is have a memory span longer than 8 minutes and be able to remember what you see day after day and pay attention to what you're seeing, and you would understand everything I said. With that, I'm out of here, guys.